First of all, what was your reaction to the president saying Pittsburgh, not Paris? What was your initial gut reaction?
Well, my reaction really threads back to the long history that my family has with the city of Pittsburgh. We have 6 generations of my family in this city. And the one thing that Pittsburgh has always stood out for me is a city that's always renewing itself, moving in a new direction. And, it was clear to me that the president does not understand Pittsburgh, does not understand where we're going. And the notion that somehow we want to go back to the dirty 30s or the other terrible things that we suffered through many years ago, many generations ago actually, it's just completely out of line and certainly not something that I want Pittsburgh to be known for.
Is Pittsburgh and maybe Pennsylvania equipped to lead on this fight?
The challenge that we have right now is that we have found enormous amounts of natural gas in Pittsburgh and in the region, western Pennsylvania. The temptation is to rely on natural gas to get us to the future, when in fact gas is a fossil fuel, and we need to be cutting that fuel usage day by day, year by year. The scientists have told us we need to cut our carbon emissions by about 6% a year, and we can't do that as we become dependent on natural gas. It's not an issue of coal, as the president would like to suggest, but it's an issue of moving to clean energy. We have the technology here, we have the institutions, Carnegie Mellon, Pitt, and others, that can help us to move in that direction. And we need to do that and set a good example for the future.
Is it a matter of finding new technology, or is it a matter of using the technology we already have?
I think it's both. I think we have the technology to cut our emissions very dramatically through wind, through solar, through efficiency. Efficiency alone will cut 30% of our energy use. So, and that's a net savings, because cutting our energy use cuts our costs. Solar is viable. I have solar on my home. It produces my electricity. At night I use wind from local wind sources. So we can do that, and we can do it in a much more accelerated pace than what we have.
Is this time different, like the time now we have with this president? Does it feel different for you as far as the level of activism and the level of interest that people have in activism?
I think President Trump, if he's done nothing else, has awakened a community of concerned people who have are starting to take steps now to confront this terrible crisis that we face. There are lawmakers, there are mayors, there are elected officials across America who have recognized that the public is for action, and they are embracing that change now. So I think for every action there's an equal and opposite reaction. In this particular case, the president's failure to act on Paris is triggering a widespread city by city, state by state reaction, and lawmakers and others are stepping up in good number.
Ultimately, do you think it will matter that he's pulled out, or is the economic momentum already so much that these changes are going to happen anyway?
Well, that's a great question. The economic drivers are there. We look at solar and we look at wind. They have grid parity in many states already. They will be in grid parity within a couple years across the entire United States. But are they moving fast enough? We need to cut our emissions by 6.2% a year. I think the markets will drive some of that, but clearly we need to have incentive mechanisms from the federal government to move us at a much faster pace so that we can protect our kids' future.
Does the environment have any friends in the Republican Party, or?
It's interesting. John McCain was the first sponsor of the climate bill that we worked on back in the early days of the climate movement. Lindsey Graham was a sponsor along with Senator Kerry and Senator Lieberman. So we've had Republican friends. one of the things that's happened that a lot of people don't realize is that the dark money folks actually went after the Republicans who supported climate change, and they actually defeated 5 House members who stood up and were demanding climate change. And those 5 Republicans are now no longer in Congress because dark money funders primaried against them and defeated them. So that's why a lot of the Republicans today know that there's a real problem here called climate change, but they won't say it for fear of getting primaried. They're fearful of losing their seats. And that's been a really unfortunate development.
How about on the Democratic side? Do we have any frenemies or people that we need to get out of Congress that aren't helping as much as we think they should?
Well, there are Democrats from red states, and they are less enthusiastic about taking on a carbon industry. There's West Virginia is a good example, where we have a Democrat senator who is not in favor of dealing with these issues. But I think by and large the Democrats have been willing to step up, have been willing to take a leadership role. We have some really great examples of that. I think Senator Whitehouse, for example, in my mind is one of the real leaders in the Senate right now. But we have a number of others who are stepping up and demanding the kind of actions that we deserve.
When people get inspired to act and to do something, is it enough to just buy solar panels and recycle, or are there other more concrete action steps that people should be taking?
Well, I think we need to look at our whole lifestyle. For example, we should be gardening and growing food. The best food in the world is that which it comes from your backyard, has a low carbon footprint, it's more nutritious. There are a number of things like that. We should be composting our food waste. We should be doing a number of things in our home, insulating. We should be looking at our energy usage. Clearly we can do a lot, but beyond that, we need to come together and demand the right kind of public policies to drive the kind of changes, the fundamental changes that we need in this country. And until we do that, I think the politicians are going to be reluctant to be courageous, and that's what we're seeing today.
The vegan community was quick to point out that if everyone switched to a vegan diet, we would dramatically reduce our carbon footprint because of the amount of fuel that's used in raising meat. Is that a part of your program or the platform?
Well, clearly we need to look at where the meat comes from. For example, a pound of beef coming from South America, particularly from Brazil and the other Amazonian countries, has about 20 times the carbon footprint of a beef that's grass grown and in a more free range type situation. So I think we need to really look at our food consumption, but we also need to recognize that 30% of the planet is covered with grass. Humans are not really good at eating grass, so we need some intermediary to convert that grass into food for humans. So it's not as simple black and white. Some would say that we should flip a switch and stop eating all meat, and that's just not practical because a lot of people eat meat off of lands that would not support human consumption otherwise.
That's about all I have for right now.
Okay.
I might have more later, but anything you'd like to really ping on about what we're going to do here tonight?
Well, I think this is an exciting moment where people from across the city come together, across the region, come together to talk about what we can do together. The mayor has made some really bold promises about how we're moving in a new direction. Let's figure out how we can help him do that. A number of other communities, Millvale, Aspinwall, others, have stepped up and are trying to do the right thing. Let's support them. Let's find a way to help them get the resources they need to install the energy locally so that they can be the self-sustaining communities that we desperately deserve.
Great. Thank you very much.
Great, thank you.
Good.